I'm Shahad. I'm an ambassador and an operations officer at Metavisionaries. We are a company that utilizes Web3 and NFTs to bring space education in the metaverse.
Great. And basically, who are Metavisionaries? What do you guys do in this space?
So, like I was just saying, we bring space education to the metaverse. And specifically, so this is what we started with. This is more comfortable. So this is what we started with. Started with space education, and why? Because space, you can have so many things in space, and not only that, but we have so many ambassadors that are passionate about it, and it's an area that can be explored into many ways. And we have a few of our ambassadors. They are working full time at NASA Blue Origin, but they have a passion to reach people and give good education to people around the world. And this is what the metaverse brings. It connects this professor from NASA to this girl in Egypt.
So you are kind of an edtech company, right? Providing education in this space.
But not only that, so we're utilizing both physical education and virtual education. So we're building space labs in universities. So we started with Qatar University. We're building a space lab for them. And the students will be learning physically and also virtually through the metaverse.
That's amazing. And so we have a collaboration together. We recently signed a collaboration together. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Can you just briefly hit on that?
Yeah, so we are collaborating to build the biggest Web3 community in the region, inshallah. And it all starts small with a small meeting at the music space, which is amazing. But also, I feel like it's growing. Yeah. It's a really nice space.
No, so I think with using your tools, your platform, the metaverse, we're going to jump onto the spaceship that you guys have designed soon. With our teams and the tools that we have and the education content that we are building, I think it's a great bridge to gap. Gap to bridge, and connecting Web2 people and Web3. So
yeah, because you wanna teach these students that are all over the world how to enter this world, not just bring it to them.
Yeah, I think the first step for us to get into the space is the education, and this is what we're focusing on. So I'm really
more in education in life, and it's no longer about like you putting that kid to read a book or get out. Or now gaming is starting to change everything, and it's exciting. It's an exciting space. It's scary, but internet was scary a few years ago.
Absolutely.
So it's just the start.
Absolutely. We have another speaker right now. Thank you for the contact. We are using your space. To just tell us real quick, and I will introduce Mashal in a minute, but just tell us where we're going now.
Yeah, so we're going to our spaceship that the team built, and we have Mashal, our ambassador. You're going to know more about her now. And Omar and Mashal went into the metaverse and had a quick chat, because we couldn't have her here. We wanted to bring her to everyone, but...
Yeah, exactly. So this talk, it's funny how it happened, because we were planning to have Mashal with us tonight. And for some reason, I think she's in Miami, she's working, she's not here with us, and we decided to do this interview on the spaceship in the metaverse. Now, you will not be able to see what we were seeing, because we were using our VR headsets, but we have the VR headsets over in the gallery room. So after we break our AMA session, once we finalize this, we're going to invite everybody of you to go to the NFT gallery. This is where we're going to network, we're going to check the gallery, and you have the chance to jump on the spaceship in the VR and see it for yourself.
So, good evening, Mashal. We're so excited to have you here with us today in this amazing space, this amazing venue. We won't take much of your time. We know you're a busy woman, but as a starter, you are a multidisciplinary, you are a scientist, you are an engineer, an educator. If we were to introduce you to the people listening to us today, how would you like people to know Mashal?
Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting, and to be in the metaverse doing this. I think if you had to describe me simply, I like to describe myself as a human who can make mistakes and learn from them. Because in reality, there's a lot of association with accomplishment and who a person is. But I feel like that is not necessarily a healthy way to identify oneself with your accomplishments, but rather I am human at the end of the basically, in the end, I'm human. I make mistakes and I learn from them just like everybody else.
Sweet, sweet. You are the first female aerospace engineer in the GCC. This is huge. And we are so happy to have you here. Now, if you can walk us through this transition from where it all started as a dreamer, as a kid, dreaming about space and rockets, up until you manifested those dreams into a reality and making them happen. When was that transition?
So I was fortunate enough that my inspiration came at a very young age of 6 years old. My mom took me to the desert in Aneza in the middle of the night, and I was inspired by the high density of stars I was able to see in the night sky. From that moment, I became very, very curious what those stars are made out of, why are they flickering, and why are they up there? And from that moment, I decided, okay, the only way to truly understand space is to go there. And the only way to go there is to make rockets. Therefore, I have to make a rocket to take me up to space so I can understand this wondrous lighting system that's in the sky. So from that day on, that's really what drove me to become an aerospace engineer.
Amazing, amazing. And how much planning was involved in that? So from starting as just a dream, as an idea, a picture in your head, to making it happen, how much planning and commitment was involved in the process? Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Yeah, so when you're 6, you really are not that exposed to the rest of the world or to access, like today, for example, kids are more exposed to what's out there versus when I was a kid and, we didn't really have Google or anything. We couldn't just search something. It was more of like, what I've learned is that, okay, this is the path I want to take. I want to become an aerospace engineer. At the time, obviously, I did not know what aerospace engineering was, but I knew that I needed to make rockets to go to space. That was the profession that my brain said. And then from that moment on, I realized that I have scientific inclination. So I would take stuff apart, put it together at home. And then as I went through school, there was a draw towards science and STEM related topics. And then in high school, it was not until high school that I recognized that aerospace engineering is the actual term that I need to, or the field that I have to pursue. And that is the term used for it. And essentially those are the people that make rockets with those professions. And so I was like, okay, that's exactly what I want to do. But while in high school, for example, to showcase the trajectory, I was part of a lot of robotics competitions and a lot of robotics programs in my high school. Kind of facilitated the STEM initiation and being very scientifically inclined and thinking like an engineer and brainstorming and so forth. So that basically was the journey. So you kind of go through life acquiring more and more information to assess how do you proceed next, as opposed to knowing from the get-go what you're going to do from 6 years old. So it was an accumulation of knowledge that then basically paved the path to aerospace engineering. Then obviously when I went to college, I did aerospace engineering. I also decided to do mathematics as well. So I have 2 degrees as an undergrad because aerospace has so much math that you might as well get another degree. And that's basically the trajectory. And then I went into my master's and I focused on nuclear thermal rockets for Mars missions, which was a research I was doing for NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. So it was kind of that type of journey.
Wow, that definitely is a one step at a time journey, a long one indeed. Now that being said, and where we are currently in the metaverse, in the space, how would you define this immersive experience and how can it be important to mankind? How can we benefit from such technology?
I mean, that's a very good question, and it really depends on what field you're in. In my case, for aerospace engineering and for space-related activities, I see a really large potential in the metaverse because what we've been seeing throughout, the increased use of social media is that people are more prone to, or most people are visual learners, and most people prefer to see something rather than just read it or play with it in 2D. So now, for example, we are here, and we can easily put an object here and open it up and try to showcase it, and everybody in the audience will be able to see it. It becomes extremely visual. And I've always felt throughout my career, even when I was teaching or I was a professor and so forth, that people like to be for people to have the ability to retain information, the more visual it is, the higher the retention. So if you were able to portray a scientific topic here, I think that the retention will be a lot higher than if you were to just read a book and then try to remember what you read based on what your imagination gave you as a visual. So for sure, and I think one of the most powerful aspects of being in the metaverse is the visual aspect. And while this is really amazing, I also fear that as a result of being in the metaverse and seeing everything visually, people may lose the ability to have some form of imagination from like reading a book and then imagining what it could be. Rather, someone is painting a picture for them. If that makes sense.
That is a very good point. I think there's always pros and cons in new technologies and new, features or industries. For us, we like to focus on the positives. Now, in the sense of your involvement in the space, can you walk us through what have you been up to lately? If we can tackle the positives of this experience, how can we utilize it to the positives, to the well-being of mankind? If you can give us some examples within your world. I know you mentioned education. So can you please shed light on that part? That would be awesome.
Absolutely. So first of all, I think it's really, really exciting. It's new, it's very visual, and that's really what I think we have to capitalize on. The fact that it's very visual makes it a lot easier to portray complex topics in a very simple way. So for me, I think the initial use of the metaverse would be for educational purposes, to engage people, whether they're interested in STEM or not, even from the artistic side, be able to bring everyone together to see a concept for space applications, whether it's, I'm portraying a rocket in front of us right now and seeing what each part looks like, or addressing a specific problem with a bunch of engineers to try to, like, for example, let's say we designed a specific subsystem within a rocket or spacecraft, and we're running into an issue. We can bring that part right here with a bunch of engineers from all over the world and be like, guys, we're having trouble with this aspect. And you start removing and highlighting where that exact problem is. And then you can showcase it, and then everybody can brainstorm together. So it's not just the educational aspect, it's also how you can solve problems visually with everyone else with you. I think it's extremely powerful. I think it remains to be seen what else we can do with this, but that's where I would get started.
That is amazing. And I think specifically your story is very inspiring in the sense of we've always perceived space, the whole aerospace industry and, the planets and orbits as something extremely far-fetched from our eyes, specifically in our region. So if you can tell one thing to the youth, to the Saudi and non-Saudi youth here listening to us, how can we empower them to really work on their dreams and manifest their visions, what they have in mind? You spoke about imagination. How can we really empower them through your story and journey of dreaming, persistence, and consistency, right? Any words for the young entrepreneurs out there?
Well, I don't want to sound boring, but I've said this in most events and any place that I speak at when I'm asked this question is, most important thing is not to be afraid to fail. As a matter of fact, you should welcome it with open arms, because I truly, truly believe that failure is the seed from which success grows. If you go on in life without failing, you're really not learning much, or you're not pushing yourself enough to the point that you actually fail. And so what is important about failing, while maybe you may not like failing, is that you will learn how not to do it. And that's a critical data point for you to push forward and try to expand your horizon. So it's very, very important not to be afraid to fail, to welcome it and understand that that is a data point that you need to acquire in life in order to succeed. So, you have to push yourself, and the only way you can push yourself is if you make mistakes, or you don't get to the goal that you want, and have to find ways to get to the goal from a different perspective, think outside the box, or whatever it is. That's why it's very critical, and I always say this over and over again: failure is the seed from which success grows.
Sweet, amazing. That is truly inspiring. Those are facts. I think working hard enough will inevitably get you to your goals. You mentioned something really, really pleasant to the ears, in the sense of failing allows you to know what did not work. So it's not a negative thought, it is just another perspective. This is truly great. Now, we don't want to take much of your time. I think we can spend hours and hours talking about the space, about the whole industry, and your story in specific and everything around it. I know we have to get back to planet Earth, so this was really nice teaser. And moving forward, what can we tell people to expect? What's cooking between XGuard, Mashal, and Metavisionaries?
So it's really exciting stuff, actually. So what we're going to try to do, and you got to stay tuned for this, which is going to be super exciting, is we're going to merge rocket science, art, music, and and NFTs, and bring it to you guys. So stay tuned for that fun stuff.
Super. This was exciting indeed. I really want to thank you for your time. I want to thank Metavisionaries for providing us this beautiful space over here in the metaverse. We will be working on so many exciting projects, as you said, so stay tuned, people. We will be back, and thank you for watching and listening.